Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You.
What they all are about today is financial freedom. It's unlocking and breaking the shackles that have people in bondage. The sooner that you're disconnected from what other people think, that's when you actually find freedom. The difference between successful and super successful people is super successful say no to almost everything. And you have to be willing to miss out to really go all the way.
Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Okay. Hello. It is your Caribbean girl, your Jamaican girl to be exact, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Welcome back to another electrifying episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast, where, of course, dreams become plans and plans become reality. Today, we're going to go on an incredible journey. Let's put it that way, of entrepreneurship. We have a dynamo in the proverbial studio, as it were, in a podcast studio virtually. Someone who's launched over 70 companies, written 12 books, and redefined what it means to bounce back from adversity. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet Damion Lupo, a man who turned a $20 million setback into a $1 billion comeback. But of course, before we get right into it and give him that hearty welcome of that wild ride of triumphs and pitfalls, I'm going to just get into a little lighthearted stuff. But first, I have to thank my sponsors, the Jamaica Stock Exchange and HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Welcome, Damion.
Heneka, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. You are so welcome. Now, today's episode is going to be all about resilience, reinvention, revolutionary thinking in entrepreneurship. Of course, what we're going to do is explore not only how you survived, but thrived after your what we described as a colossal financial blow, rebuilt your wealth from scratch, and is now transforming the way that we all think about retirement and construction. So if my listeners, if you ever face a setback, or 70 you all want to stick around, setback or whatever it is, you want to stick around for this one, because this one is going to be amazing. But, I like to start off with my icebreaker question. All right, so here's a fun question for you, Damion. If you could have dinner with any historical entrepreneur, who would it be? And what burning question would you ask that person? So if you could have dinner with any historical entrepreneur, who would it be? And what's that burning question that you'd be dying to ask?
When I was 2 years old, both my grandfather and my great-grandfather died the same year of heart attacks, which is very strange. But because I was so young, I never had a chance to meet either one of them or connect with them or ask them any questions. So I would go back in time. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He was the postmaster general. He had a John Deere distribution. He was a farmer. He did all these different things. And what I would want to go and sit down and ask him, what was driving you? What were your values? What were the things? Where do I come from? And try to understand myself better. And really, from that perspective, that period in time, 50, 60, 70 years ago, I'd love to know, how people thought, because I think people are thinking very differently today. And there's a lot of moral decay, and values have kind of become fluid. And I'd really love to talk with somebody that's so connected to me that I share the DNA with, and understand what drove him and how he went through things like the Great Depression, and just really understanding him from his perspective. That's very personal to me, and I wish I could do that.
Oh, Damion, that's fantastic. I mean, it's a lighthearted question, but it's actually very lighthearted and also very deep. Thank you for sharing that. And so you'd want to learn more about yourself, learn more about yourself, and we want to learn more about you, right? We want to hear your story. You started from the ground up, over 70 companies. Who does that? So where did that all start? Tell us a little bit about your background. Where did all that come from?
It really started from my parents telling me no. I grew up in Alaska, which is like the opposite of Jamaica or Arizona. Like, it's so far away, and it's so cold, and it's so remote. And I was told we were broke. We had no money. And the further I got away from that, the more I realized we were actually just struggling. We weren't really even middle class. We were kind of like upper poor at best. And so but you don't know when you're in the middle of it. It's you just think it's normal. And so back then I was told, no, we don't have any money. No, there's no money for anything. I remember shopping for school clothes in the JCPenney catalog, and it was like, here's $100. That's for the year. And granted, things have gotten, they were cheaper back then, but it was really a scarcity mindset. And it absolutely offended me. And so I started thinking very early, I don't like that answer. I don't like being told no. So I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to go blame somebody or be mad. I'm just going to go take this frustration and solve the problem. That's what entrepreneurs do. They see problems. And the more people, the longer you go on as an entrepreneur, you see problems everywhere, and all you see is opportunity. So when most people are bitching about how hard things are, I'm seeing just unbelievable, endless opportunities. And when my parents told me we can't afford video games, I said, you know what? I'm going to go figure this out. So I started a business buying and selling Nintendo games so that I could play them, and ended up turning into a wholesale retail business where I hired my parents to drive me around. I was 11 years old. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Obviously, I didn't have a whole lot of education, but I had drive, and I was curious, and I was resilient, when you're 11 years old, what do you really know? Nothing, except you want to play video games. And when you're an entrepreneur, you can't help but to find the solutions. And you bribe your parents with pizza and gas money, and it works out. But that was the first thing. And then every time something happened after that, I saw people saying no to somebody, and maybe it was me, maybe it was somebody else. But I said, like when I went to college, and I thought I'm supposed to do this because everybody does that. And I went there, and I ended up getting thrown out because I started a bookstore to put the other bookstore, ultimately put them out of business. And it was because they were gouging everybody. And there's some talk about corporate gouging. Well, I didn't go bitch about it. I just solved the problem. I went out and started a bookstore that competed. And so the free market solved the problem. The free market, which was me at the time, said, I'll buy books for more than you're getting paid, and I'll sell them to you for less than they're charging. And so I squeezed the margin, and I put them out of business in a week. And that pissed off the administration. What it did is it solved the problem. I paid for school in a week, and a lot of people got better value at the end of that semester. So there's always an opportunity for these things. And literally, it's everywhere. All you have to do is open your eyes and have a little bit of curiosity.
Wow. 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 Okay. So 70 companies. Let's talk about some of those companies. What were they? The industries that you operated or operate in, and where are some of those businesses today?
So after the book experience, this is like pre-Amazon, because I think Amazon stepped into that space. So, I would have been squished like a bug. But the smaller operators have the ability to be way more nimble. So you can go see an opportunity and take advantage of it. You don't need a corporate board to tell you. And so I started doing stuff in real estate back almost 25 years ago. And that was just solving a problem. People wanted to have houses, and they couldn't afford them, and they couldn't qualify because traditional finance really locks out a lot of the population. And so I became the financing arm because I was creative, and I studied people that did it. So I ended up buying 150 houses across the country and made a bunch of money. And I thought, man, I am super smart and super rich. And then my ego and my pride got me in trouble. So 2007, I had all these projects, and they all failed, 7 of them in 12 months. Went from supposed to make me about $10 million to losing 25 million, and I ended up homeless. So that was taking all those that adventure in real estate for almost a decade, and it collapsed on me because there was an arrogance there. And that's one of the things about being an entrepreneur. You have to be curious and aggressive. Sometimes you're optimistic and you look a little crazy, but you also have to be humble and be willing to have other people around you that are wiser, grayer, balder. They've been out in the world and have done the thing. And ultimately, that the process of getting through that was saying, okay, what am I doing? Am I meant to just go do more companies, make some more money, or is there something else? And I got a grayer, balder kind of. Actually, he has really good hair, so just a grayer guy. They gave me some coaching and some therapy for a couple of years. And when we drilled down, what I found doing a lot of work on myself was I'm meant to teach people. I'm meant to solve problems for the financial shackles that are really put on people in society. And to me, I look at as money as modern day slavery. I think people are sitting here locked up, and they're scared, and they don't feel like they have the freedom or the ability to move around. And so I said, well, what's the biggest problem? It's probably retirement. And so the next company that was really launched was the EQRP company. And that company was meant to give people control of their retirement money and give them options that they didn't even know they had. And that's the one that really started the ball rolling on everything else, including frame tech, where I'm sitting now, where we're disrupting the entire construction industry. So it was a lot of different variety, whether it's real estate or there's a gold company, insurance, books. But ultimately, what they all are about today is financial freedom. It's unlocking and breaking the shackles that have people in bondage, and so that's what every one of these things does. It helps serve that mission to free 1 million people from financial bondage, and that's what they're all doing.
Fantastic. So, with that starting over 70 companies, what's the one lesson, Damion, that you wish that you had learned earlier on your entrepreneurial journey?
When I think back and asking myself, what would you have told yourself if you would have listened? And that's one of the problems when you're 18, 19, 20, you actually know more. If you're really thoughtful, you know more at 18 than you do when you're 40 or 50 because you're so smart. Like you don't realize how much you don't know. There's an arrogance and you're invincible too. I would have told myself, go out there and fail faster because the people you think are judging you that are going to give you crap, that the concerns we had when we were kids, when we were supposed to do really good in school. And if you got 50% wrong, they threw you out. And the reality is in the real world, if you get 50% wrong, you may have gotten 50% right. That's the other half. And that means you're a billionaire. So these ideas are not good for us to be concerned about failing. I would have said, fail faster, learn faster, move through it, because I think I probably spent 10 years going a lot slower than I would have because I was concerned that people were judging me. I was trying to show people I was successful, people that didn't really care, people that cared about their own stuff. We have all this, we give up all this freedom by thinking that we need to show other people things or we need to be concerned about what they think. And the reality is the sooner that you're disconnected from what other people think, that's when you actually find freedom. It's not caring. And that's going to offend some people. They're going to think you should care because that's what they're focused on. But the reality is that I would have told myself, this is the most important thing you need to do. Grow faster. Don't waste time. And that's the big killer, especially in our 20s and 30s. Don't waste time worrying about whether you fail, because when you fail, you don't fail, you just learn something.
Yeah. That's it. We have to be so far removed from people's opinion. We have to deliver ourselves from people's opinion, or else we never grow to the dimension that we should, So you've lost a $20 million portfolio at age 30, and you faced homelessness. I mean, that's kind of hard to fathom, but it has happened to you. Now, what was your thought process at that time, and how did you find that inner strength to start over? And perhaps even tell us your first step in rebuilding. Let's take it from that angle.
Yeah, so it's really funny that when I look back, it wasn't funny at the time. It was actually very painful, in going through this process. But there's a cycle of grief where at first you pretend it's not happening, then you start blaming somebody, you blame everybody. Like I remember when this went down, I spent a year just kind of pretending, hey, everything is the same. And then my credit card started being turned off and canceled, and I said, well, it's everybody's fault. It's George Bush's fault. It's Obama's fault. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the economy. It's my dog. Wait, my dog is now gone. My dog left with my girlfriend. Like all these things happened. And so there was this cycle, and the shift and the way out of that was asking for help and saying, I don't really know what I don't know. And I need somebody to give me a perspective that has the wisdom that's actually been through these things. And that's when I spent a couple of years with Frank. And it was really us asking the question, what is true? And for a lot of people right now are going through some hard times. They've lost a lot of money in investing, doing different things, or businesses are failing, and this is always going on where people are running into these things. And the sooner that you can go and ask somebody for perspective and help and then trust what they're saying, the faster you can get through it. If you're just doing it in your own head, it's brutal because you can delude yourself. And that was one of the reasons I moved to Texas. And I reached out to an old mentor and I said, I need a chiropractor and I need a therapist. I need to figure me out and I need to stay aligned. And so I got both of those. And then that work led to the other stuff where I started building businesses. I made a misstep in the very beginning, though, when I was going through this work, because I said, okay, I'm going to go chase dollars. I'm going to have like 5 businesses and I'm going to consult. I'm going to do all these things. And I didn't get any traction because I was chasing like 15 different birds or squirrels or whatever you want to say. and I wasn't catching anything. I was getting nibbles at things. And when I narrowed that down and said, okay, I'm going all in, I'm going to be the authority. I'm going to create my own space in the retirement world in the EQRP. This is my term. It's my unique thing, my unique sauce. That's when things really changed. It was that narrowing of focus, because when there's commitment, all acts of providence ensue. And that was the big shift. So it was going through that process, asking what is true, and then saying, I'm picking. One of the things I think a lot of people do, in fact, I know this is true, they say, well, I want to pick the right thing. So they sort of pick everything, which means they're not picking anything. And it doesn't matter if you pick the wrong thing. If it doesn't work, you'll learn something. And you go, 70 companies, Heneka, 70 companies, most of those were not good. Most of those I lost money in. And when you have 70, 50 of them didn't really work. But you know what? I made millions and millions of dollars from a few of them. And then the ones I'm currently in are, the wealth that's being created, literally, it's $1 billion operation. So that's one of the missing things I think a lot of people get stuck on. They're trying to make sure they don't make a mistake in even choosing the thing, so they never choose anything. That way they're safe.
Safe ain't going to get you anywhere. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look a little bit at revolutionizing home. FrameTech rather is revolutionizing home and apartment construction. Let's take a break to hear from our partners.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Welcome back. All right. So, of course, I have Damion Lupo with me. He's been talking about, his mindsets and just moving from one place to the next in terms of businesses, sharing about those businesses that he's been a part of, and how, even in that icebreaker question, how he'd be asking his grandfather some questions because he was big on entrepreneurship. And clearly he has, Damion has had a very interesting entrepreneurial journey. He has lots of takeaways, lots of lessons that he has been sharing and can further share with us. So let's talk a little bit about your construction company, Damion, FrameTech. Tell us a little bit about it and give us the inspiration behind you venturing into the industry, and how do you see it changing the future of housing?
I'm very fortunate. I think that one of the funny things, it's better to be lucky than good. And what is luck? Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And what I see in the world, in my perspective, that people say, I wish I could find the thing. And I said, the first thing that you have to do is find yourself. You have to become the thing that's ready for the thing. And what that means is that you've got to do the work on yourself, and you got to go do the things that get you ready for that ultimate lottery event. And I would say in a lot of ways, FrameTech is a lottery event because it looks like an overnight success story. 2.5 years ago, it was a napkin, and meaning it was an idea in somebody's head. And the people that had the idea were introduced to me and my partner. And it was hey, you guys have an idea, and Damion and David, you have this community of people that are looking for great ideas and opportunities. And so it was in that moment when we heard this idea to help solve the housing crisis in America. And this is a lot of the world, but especially in America where we're at, there's this gap. There's millions and millions of missing homes that are needed desperately. And every year we're building 1.2 million units, houses and apartments, and we need about 1.8. So there's a huge problem. And they said, we have a solution that is radically different than the current one. It'll allow us to have a 10 times better quality product. It'll allow us to do things 4 times faster, and it'll reduce the waste to less than 1% of what's currently being wasted. And we said, we love this. You guys have the experience. And we have a community that we're on board, and our community, I believe, would love this. And so it was really when these things came together. And what I've learned is that you have to have all of the work done before that opportunity, because if that opportunity came 5 years ago or 10 years ago, there's no way we were ready. We hadn't built the track record. We hadn't built the experience. We didn't even know what was good and bad. We literally thought everything was great. And so going through the process of getting ready by going through the other things was the key. And now we have this operation, this company that's coming online right now, meaning that we're in production and testing things. And so we're going to be able to produce houses that are going to help support the community. And one of the coolest things is that not only are we building the frames, what we do is we actually build all the framing for houses or apartments. And this is, people give us plans and we go out there and we build it. So it's vertically integrated. We do the whole process, and it gives people predictability, both with their pricing and their timing. And so everybody wins, including the environment, because we're have virtually no carbon footprint. We're all solar. And there's all these things we've thought about, not to mention the people. When I say that we're disrupting the construction industry, we're not only doing something that's a model for construction and framing, but this is a model for the way that business should be done. So many businesses, especially in manufacturing or blue collar, they don't think of their people necessarily as their family, kind of look at people as disposable. And what we've done is the exact opposite. We look at it as our people, as our family. So we're literally building a wellness clinic on site to take care of people and their families, their kids, with doctors on board. We've got a daycare center going in so people can have their kids close by. So we take the stress out of the families. So when you think about, as an entrepreneur, you're thinking about all of the stakeholders, all the people that are impacted and that we could impact. How do we make everybody's lives better? Zig Ziglar said this: if you can have anything you want, if you help enough other people get what they want. We're helping people get what they desperately want and need and what they're struggling with. So when you do that and you do it at scale, that's one of the reasons that it's so important to not live at 50% of your potential or do the thing that's safe. Like, you got to go all the way, and then the money takes care of itself. And that's an easy thing to say 70 companies later, 25 years, but it truly is. If there's one other thing I would have told myself 25 years ago, focus on the service. Do not focus on the money. When you focus on the money, you're never going to win, and you're never going to get to your potential. So that's where this is today.
Wow, you're never going to, when you focus on the money, you're never going to win. You're never going to get to your full potential. Absolutely. There is a question I wanted, which I think that a lot of persons listening now want to ask. So you've had so many projects, entrepreneurial under your belt, initiatives under your belt. How do you decide which one you must commit to, which one you should commit to, and what criteria must the business idea has before you decide to commit?
One of the things that I did 14 years ago after the meltdown in 2008, I did a process of creating my rules for business, my rules for investing. I didn't have any rules. I had my glands. So it was very exciting for my 20s. And I was chasing everything. And one of the things that the rules did, they gave me guidelines, and they gave me a way to say no, because the difference between successful and super successful people is super successful say no to almost everything. Today, I say no to everything. And it's, when somebody has an idea or an opportunity, I say that sounds great, and I'm going to be cheering you on from afar. My focus is on one thing. This is where I'm making a dent in the world. FrameTech is how I'm helping the most people win in life. And so the key is you pick and you go all in on that thing. There's a time to quit and there's a time to persevere. I've been in businesses where we ran out of money and we were working off my credit cards to make payroll. And I've gone through that, and that's been really hard. And then there are times where it's the wrong business. You're literally making buggy whips, and the car, Henry Ford is making the car, and you're saying, no, buggy whips are the way. So the hard part is discerning whether you're supposed to quit or whether you're supposed to push forward. And this is where having mentors and masterminds, people that have been out there for an extra 20 or 30 years, so valuable, so that you can get perspective, because you don't know. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if you pick the wrong thing. Like I said before, it's picking something, learning from it, and eventually you only have to win one time. You only have to take that swing at the thing that works one time. You can have 100 things that fail, and you learn and you grew to that thing that wins. That's the part. And in America, it's crazy, because people in a place where you can literally go and create. there's a lot of the world you don't have that option. And one of the things I think people miss out is that there's this opportunity to go and swing at things and try. And when they don't work, you go, okay, and then you get to go and try something else. So it really doesn't matter which one you pick. The only thing is you got to pick and then go for it, and not kind of do it half-assed where you don't do it 10% because you don't want to fail and look bad. Like, you really have to go all in, and then all of a sudden all these things happen that are supporting you because the universe says you're committed. Committed is like the ultimate secret sauce. When you're truly committed, people pay attention. Here, and I'll say one last thing, that one of the most depressing things when I meet somebody and we're talking about what we're doing in life, and I say, well, what kind of work do you do? Do you, if they're working, and they give me like 8 things they're doing, and I'm like, man, you are a mess. You have no possibility of doing anything successful or big or fulfilling your potential because you're chasing everything under the sun. That's a good sign to me that this person is not ready for their success and their fulfillment and their dent in the world. They're unwilling to choose because it's FOMO. It's like everybody wants to not miss out, and you have to be willing to miss out to really go all the way.
You have to be willing to miss out to really go all the way. And we're heading close to our community connection segment. But before I get into that segment, there is one thing I really want to get from you. You've been sharing a lot of wisdom with us, Damion. The question I want to get from you, having been all in entrepreneurship, what's the biggest myth about entrepreneurship that you wish to debunk right here, right now?
We see a lot of people, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg or we see these different events where somebody makes $1 billion, and we think, oh, if I can just pick the next app, or if I can have the next software, or if I have this great idea. Here's the truth. The ideas are worth about 1% of the whole thing. And the execution, the work that takes years and decades to actually get to the point where you actually know how to do something, that's the myth. The myth is that you just have an idea and you're a millionaire or a billionaire, and that's not true. The people that can execute are the ones that end up doing really well and are financially free. So I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people think, if they can just come up with that one great idea. But again, it's about 1% of the value of anything if it gets executed on. So when you do have an idea, the question is, are you willing to work? I had an example of that with a friend of mine 25 years ago that brought me my first real estate deal. And he said, I got this great idea for this house. And I said, okay. So I bought the house, put it on my credit card. I used my credit card to pay for a house. That was a really dumb idea, by the way. And so I did this. And then as soon as we had the house, I said, okay, we have to go fix the house. And he said, yeah, it's not worth my time. He wanted to go on to the next thing and have the next idea, but he didn't want to do the work. So I spent 4 months learning how to be electrocuted and get high off of paint and blow out pipes and all the other dumb things that you do when you're learning how to build a house or remodel a house. I had no idea how to do any of these things and had to figure it out. That's the execution. That's where you get the scar tissue, and you're literally blood and tears and falling off the roof because I didn't know how to keep myself up there when I was trying to repair the roof tiles. That's how the guys that are with me here that are helping to work and build this thing, they've been doing whatever their part is. They've been doing it for 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. So that's what matters. It's the execution intelligence. And it's sadly missing because everybody wants the get rich quick type of thing. And that is a farce.
Indeed, it is a farce. All right, so we're going to go into the community connection segment. And this is a segment where, of course, I invite you, our community, to engage with us, to engage with me, so that I don't, think that I'm all here talking to myself, and my guests alone. So thank you so much. And today's community connection is about it's a podcast review. So in this segment, of course, I invite you to share your reviews, your questions, your feedback, so that you can engage with me. So today I'm sharing a podcast review, and this says Heneka Rocks, 5-star review, of course. I love this show. Heneka is a wonderful and insightful interviewer. The guests are excellent and cover a broad range of topics of interest to entrepreneurs. I highly recommend you add this podcast to your regular listening. That is so amazing. Thank you. I know it comes out of the US. It didn't leave a username, so I can just say to the person who sent me this fantastic review, thank you so much. I love you. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. I have been talking with Damion Lupo, and he has been just so inspiring, sharing his entrepreneurial journey, having started over 70 companies. and focusing right now on, frame tech, which is really, as I mentioned earlier, revolutionizing home and apartment construction, right? He shared his inspiration for getting into the industry, and he talked a little bit about how he saw, or how he sees rather, the future of housing is being changed. He talks a little bit about, how he makes decisions to pursue a business, and share with us some criteria to get to consider before we decide to commit to anything. So we're just going to wrap right now, pretty much. I'm going to ask Damion to bring this conversation home with his final thoughts, share with our entrepreneurs and leaders, given insights for success. Just leave a word of inspiration for all of us, Damion.
One of the things that I learned during 2008 when I melted down, I thought I was by myself, so I tended to figure it out in my own head and have my sorrow pity party with myself. And on the other side of that, I wrote a book called Reinvented Life. And after I wrote that book, I talked about the journey of building and then losing and the darkness and all the things. And there were a lot of people that showed up and said, "Man, I was going through something, the same thing. I went through your life." And I went, wow, I wasn't alone. A lot of times people are on the entrepreneurial path and they feel like they're alone. It can be a lonely road. And a lot of people are having fun and playing, and entrepreneurs are out there working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to build the dream, to build the thing that's going to help other people. And so just understand that you're not alone. And one of the best things, there's two things. I have something I call the peak life, and the P is the people and the planet. And these are the four focuses. The E is for environment, and the C is for contribution, and the other E is for experiences. When we talk about the environment, it kind of blends in with the P. You can go and find people that are entrepreneurs. This is like Entrepreneurs Organization, other masterminds and mentoring programs. When you're around people that are like you, because you're going to be kind of a crazy person in society. The entrepreneurs, we have to be a little crazy to do the things that nobody else is doing. And when you're around other people, you can make things that are crazy normal. When they're normal, you'll do them. You'll start doing what other people are doing. And there's a truth to the saying that the 5 people that you're around most of the time, you're going to be the average of them in every way. The way that you think about things, money, your relationships, your level of integrity. And so when you can put yourself in, and anybody has access to this, there are online environments and there's physical environments where you can become parts of groups and masterminds. Setting yourself up for success has everything in the world to making your ideas seem normalized, because then you won't be fighting with the crazy factor all the time. You'll have people that are around you that are doing the same things, and they'll be cheering you on. But you won't resist because it's normal. If you're around people that are going to the gym every day of the week, you're probably going to go to the gym every day of the week because you're not going to want to be the outcast. And so when people are making decisions and they're taking risks, if you're around a bunch of employees, you're probably going to be hesitant to take risks or take those chances. Whereas if you're around employees or entrepreneurs, that's just normal. That's what you do every day. You make decisions and move forward. And when you miss, I have a saying that I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. So I move forward, I make decisions, and then I go, oh, and when I'm wrong, I go, okay, got it. And then I fix it, I correct really fast. When you're around people that are thinking like that, they all support that. They don't look at you and go, well, that was stupid. You should not do that. You should hesitate. And you should play not to lose. They're out there playing to win as well. So getting yourself into an environment with whoever resonates with you. There are a million masterminds and groups. Make sure you're really conscious, though, around the people sometimes you're going to have to say no more of so-and-so because they're literally keeping me at their level. And it's not that they're bad people. It's that you're going to end up being them. And if you want something different in your life than the people that you're currently around, you're going to have to make decisions. And then ultimately, you have this incredible support system that's going to launch you. And I've seen nothing more powerful than being around people. And if you're like, I don't know anybody, go buy CDs or tapes or digital downloads. Listen to this podcast over and over again. It'll be the thinking of people that you're hearing. Like I used to hang out with Tony Robbins all the time. Many of you have heard of him. He's like the ultimate in personal development. I hung out with him on my tape player. I burned out my tapes. And so I was thinking like Tony, I was acting, I was talking like Tony. And that's how I started, because I only had $5 to pay for a used tape set. Then that's what I was working with. So I made the most of it and I was creative. That's how you can do it too, in whatever form that is. pick deliberately the people that influence you. And that's going to make a world of difference. If it's just the traditional educational system, you're probably screwed. If you go out to people that are out there doing it, that's who you want to listen to, not the people that have a theory, the people that are actually doing it.
Yeah, the people that actually are doing it, not those with just a theory, right? It's about the practice. So how can my listeners reach you if they want to hear from you further, Damion?
Best place to reach me is turnkeyretirement.com. That's where I put resources. I put my books, digitize my books. You can download a copy of my current book, Unicornomics. You can pull. There's resources there that they're mine as a gift to you. Where I do my work and where I make my money is in building companies, and then taking that information and that wisdom, because wisdom is when you take information, apply it, and get your butt kicked. So I take that stuff, package it up, and give it away. And so ultimately, you want more of this, you want more of those experiences without having to spend 25 years. They're consolidated and condensed, and you can download them right to your phone or your computer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Damion Lupo. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Heneka. It's been a pleasure of mine as well.
All right, trending now. We go into trending now. Did you know that entrepreneurs face failure at staggering rates, with nearly 20% of new businesses folding within the first year? But here's something even more interesting. While the average business might take years to recover from a financial loss, serial entrepreneurs like Damion Lupo are redefining the way. In 2023, the global entrepreneurial landscape saw a record surge of 305 million startups launched annually, yet only a fraction turn setbacks into monumental success. And of course, we have Damion Lupo. He didn't just recover. He turned a 20 million failure into $1 billion empire. So that's what's trending. Thank you so much for tuning into that. Now, I want to again say a big thank you to Damion Lupo. I mean, he came and he didn't just come and kill the time, as we say in Jamaica. He came and he delivered. He delivered amazing insights. He gave us some takeaways from his life lessons. He gave us actionable, tips, insights on how to move forward, how to have the right mindset, what is necessary to build a business. It's not easy building a business, right? It is absolutely necessary that we deliver ourselves from people's opinion of us when it is that we're doing anything great, because those opinions, if we allow them to cripple us, they will. But if we decide otherwise, then freedom is what we will receive. So thank you so much again, Damion Lupo, for joining me today on the Entrepreneurial You.
Thank you.
And to my amazing listeners, thank you so much for joining me as usual. And I always say that sharing is caring. So if this episode did inspire you, if you found any value at all, then I'd love for you to share today's episode with someone. Do a rate or a review, because the more you engage with the episode is the more other persons are able to find this podcast, and so that they can benefit, because we do spend time. My guests spend time to come on and they share their knowledge, their experience, their expertise, and I spend the time to record and get my team to edit and everybody put it together. So, if you find value, please share it with somebody else, engage with it so that more persons can learn about this podcast. So every setback is really a setup for comeback. And I affirm that I believe in my power to rebuild, rethink, and renew. I will keep pushing forward. I will keep staying inspired. And I will always remember that the best is yet to come. Until next time, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, and this has been the Entrepreneurial You. Stay blessed and keep shining bright. Of course, thanks to our sponsors, HenekaWatkis-Porter.com, the Jamaica Stock Exchange as well. So do take care.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.